Hi everyone, welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III, and as always, joined by Boxing Hall of Famer, my main man, my father, and the handicapper of the year, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
Good, bud. I'm doing good. You're here in New York. Thank God. You're downstairs in the basement again.
It's freezing in this basement.
Well, you got thin blood since you've been living out west a little bit. Thinned it out a little. You used to handle the cold better. But I see you got that hat on at UFC. That means you were with me last night at the Garden, as my daughter was, and her husband, and Richie, our cameraman. He had a good time too, which I'm happy. But yeah, we got home at 3 in the morning, late night. But here we are for the people. We're always there for the people. And yeah, we hit Eubank and Benn fight. We hit Benn. We said Benn would win. We said he would win the fight. So you had that win if you went with us. And then we said maybe a small little, maybe throw a peanut that Benn could knock him out, get some really big odds. And we came this close to getting that knockout, very close. And we also, at the UFC, we had Jack Della Maddalena for the snipers out there. Yeah, I'm pronouncing it right. I know there's a few snipers out there. Look to see not how my picks are. They look to see how my pronunciations are. But it's all right. It's all good. And we took him to go the distance. And he went the distance to go over. Well, to go over. I think the over was 3.5. So he went over. We won that. We said, take a little tiny smidge if you want on the possibility Jack could pull off the upset. But the play we made, the play was 2 plays yesterday. Benn to win and Della Maddalena to go over. And so we're doing good. What is that, 8 out of 9 so far we're doing? So, yeah, we're doing good. And it was also bittersweet. It was nice having you guys with me, my family. A little bit that probably might be the last broadcast that I ever do with ESPN after 30 years. No gold watch, nothing, no fanfare, nothing. 30 years, Friday night fights, and when Al Heyman came in and changed everything, we did, PBC, and I did 4 Olympics for NBC, but all those years with Friday night fights and ESPN, 30 years, and last night covering the post-fight for UFC might have been my last show. It was, I don't know, I didn't give it a lot of thought. I posted a tweet, but with a picture of you guys. I'm just thankful you guys were with me. It pulls on your heart a little bit. I mean, that's a lot of years, a lot of memories, a lot of situations, a lot of experiences, a lot of fights, a lot of good, few tough things involved in there. But it's been quite a journey. I don't know what the future has in mind. I don't know what God has in mind for me. We'll see. Besides being a grandpa that I'm blessed to be now with 4 beautiful grandchildren, and I got my charity foundation 29th dinner coming up next week. 29 years the foundation has been, no better than anyone else, no less than anyone else, just doing our little bit that we're fortunate enough to help, to help people. And we only can do it because good people allow us to do it. Give us the resources to do it. So I'm glad you guys were there. And now we're gonna talk about, I guess we'll start with the Benn Eubank. That was the one for all our great fans out there from across the pond. It didn't live up to the first one, but I was on the money with that too, bud. We did the live stream for the people out there that sat with us during the live stream. You got to sit in there with me while I was commentating on the fight live, and I said right from the outset that this will not live up to the first one. I mean, most sequels don't. If you look in the movie business, I made the point that Godfather 2 is pretty damn good, and there's a couple other movies too that are okay, and they come up pretty good with the original, but most of them no. And a lot of rematches where the first one was special, like the first Ben Eubank was, most rematches come up a little short. This came up short, but solid fight and great effort by Ben. Go ahead, set me up, bud, whatever way you want to go with this. Give me your thoughts, your feelings of last night, of whatever, wherever you want to take me, because you know me. I will travel in many directions. I'm like water. You know, I'm a plumber's worst nightmare. You know, a plumber sees water, oh my God, the water could go there, it travels everywhere. Teddy Atlas travels everywhere. Take me to one of the main streams that you want to take me to.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do that, I just want to say thank you to you for letting me, as always, tag along last night. I had a blast with Richie, with my brother-in-law Jeff, with Nicole, and with you. So thank you, Charlie Monahan, ESPN. And I just want to say, but I get it. The emotions, the bittersweet. But 30 years, you're finally a free agent, and you're the best commentator in the world. You're in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and things will be coming. I know it. I feel it to my toes, and if they don't, well, I'm lucky and happy to have you here, and all of our viewers are blessed to have you. So thank you, bud. You're the best. The fight, let's get right into the UK. And we're going to get into the boxing, and then we're going to switch over to Madison Square Garden, the UFC 322. So with that being said, we're going to start off with the rematch. The big rivalry, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. Now, this one was the same venue. It was the same contracted weight, same rehydration clause, and a completely different result and fight, like you said. We didn't get the war. We didn't get the instant classic. We didn't get the action. Much more tactical. But and Ben gets the revenge for the family name and gets the win. Watching this fight, bud, we did live stream it, like you said, and it's up. Everybody could go to the YouTube channel here at the fight. You could watch it. But you didn't even need to watch the live stream. You didn't need to watch the fight. And I keep saying this every single week, but it's the truth. I'm going to keep saying it. All you have to do is watch Teddy's predictions and previews here or join us at the ropes. That is 8 out of 9 winners. You are on fire. You did it again. And with that being said, when the fight began, it was everything that you said in the lead-up, right? You said that Ben would probably be the hungrier guy. Eubank comes in a nice mink coat, looked like $1 million. Didn't look as hungry to me.
I think it's chinchilla, not even mink.
Yeah, he had the fur on. And you said in the lead-up, 36 years of age now for Eubank Jr. heading into this one, that Ben would probably be the fresher man coming off of that war, right? And he was much younger, 29 years of age. That showed. You talked about the rehydration clause. You talked about the weight. A lot of people were saying, hey, he made the weight better this time. He went about it differently. He made the weight this time. The first time he missed it, he was fined. You didn't.
He might have been better off missing it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. He would have been better off missing it. He would have been better off giving a couple more bucks and another Rolls Royce maybe to Ben. But to me, that's where this fight was lost. We saw it in the live stream. You saw it in the live stream. Round 1. The legs were gone. He looked like an older fighter. He looked like 36 years of age coming off of a war. And in the end, credit to Ben. Great game plan by his corner. He implemented it. Very tactical. Very smart fight. I've said enough. I want to hear from you, your thoughts. But just break down Ben Eubank Jr., the rematch.
Yeah, if a guy is drained, if a guy is drained as far as weight, we're talking about liquids. We're talking about water. And there's certain telltale signs a lot of the fans were sending many texts and emails, messages to us asking me what the telltale signs would be. And if you watched the live stream with us, you got it firsthand. I was saying it. He's dry. He's dry. He's dry. He being Eubank. He's dry. It's outdoors. It's in the UK. It's an outdoors show. It's not hot there. It's cool there. He's dry. And it wasn't because of the weather. It was because there wasn't a lot of liquid inside him to come out, as much as there should be. You saw that Ben was moist. He was wet. You saw that Eubank was, even in the later rounds, in the middle rounds, that where you'd see a lather, you'd see some sweat. You didn't see it. And I'm taking into account the weather, but still, you should have seen some. But that's not what it was just about. That wouldn't be fair to Ben. Ben came prepared. He fought the right fight, and he was hungrier. I mean, the chinchilla told it all. And I'm not knocking Eubank. I mean, God bless him. You made the money. You earned it. You took a risk. You've taken risks through your life. Yeah, your fathers set this up. They did. So some people will say, oh, they piggybacked off their fathers. Do not dare to say that. Yeah, it was built up, the first one, because of the fathers and their history and all that stuff, and then the bad blood with them. But they did their part in that first fight. That was a historic fight. They gave everything, blood, guts, sweat. There was sweat, too, in the first one, yes. They gave everything in that first one to make this one. They earned it. They left parts of themselves in the ring in that first one. That was like the Thrill in Manila, but instead it was in the UK. It came down to that, too. I said, this fight's going to come down to who left more in the ring. Because you leave parts of yourself in the ring, especially in a war. You do. You don't leave there. You leave there a little lighter. You leave there with a little less of yourself. Who left with less of themselves? And I said, I think it's Eubank. I think it's the guy who's 7 years older. I think it's the guy, who has been around longer. And yeah, he's been in tougher fights. And that's part of the reason. Yeah, there's some more miles on his odometer. And I felt that would play. That was my starting place. And then I always say 75% is mental. Yeah, I understand the technical. Technical was going to be the same. The physical was going to be the same. It might have been tainted a little bit by one guy being less than he was, but it's going to be basically... it's going to be basically the same. It's going to be the bigger, longer, taller Eubank trying to control the outside. Geography. Control the outside, use his jab, try to catch him with uppercuts, try to catch him with counter left hooks, straight right hands, try to catch him coming in. Keep him at a place where it's an advantage for the bigger, longer Eubank and a disadvantage for the shorter Ben. Keep him on outside. Change your distance with your legs a little bit. Be set to punch at all times. And make him go through a bad neighborhood and try to mug him. That was going to be the play for Eubank like it was the first time. And the play was going to be the same for Ben. Ben was going to have the pressure, the burden, the risk. The risk was going to be inherently pushed over to his shoulders, where to win, he wasn't winning on the outside. He was going to have to get in. That meant taking risks. That meant bringing your feet. That meant coming forward. That meant moving your head. And he did. That meant using your jab. He used his jab beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. His jab was very important in the fight. I even said it. Some people will think I'm nuts, but I don't care. I made the analogy of Joe Frazier and George Foreman. Now, people would say, where do you get that from? That was all about power. That was about size. That was about the uppercut of George Foreman, lifting Joe Frazier off the floor. Yeah, But then it was about the jab, the thunderous jab, the phone pole jab, the straight jab, the accurate jab of George Foreman, the great George Foreman, making sure that it was discombobulating Frazier, keeping him from getting stable, keeping him from getting a rhythm, keeping him always in a bad place. And that's what Benn did with his jab too. His jab was really well placed, well timed, well done. And I know Eubank used his, but Benn was a little better. And getting inside, it was about the same. Benn had to get inside. When he got inside, he had to work. The first rounds, I was a little concerned. He was getting tied up. He was smothering himself. I said, listen, he works to get in. He takes the chance to get in, the risk to get in, the risk to get hit with the uppercut, to get hit with the left hook. He gets in, and then he lets himself get tied up. He can't do that. He's got to make... there's an old saying, you got to make hay when the sun is shining. You get inside... You gotta work. You didn't go through that risk to get in there and then exchange phone numbers when you're gonna have dinner. Hey, we get dinner next Friday. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we get together. We'll bring the girls. We'll have a nice time out. No, you got inside to do damage. You're the shorter guy, the shorter arms. You get inside. You got to go to the head and body. You got to do damage, and you get tied up, that can't happen. So it was incumbent on Benn to get inside, but keep free. Keep free. Don't get tied up. And early he wasn't, but then he started doing it. Then he started doing it a little bit better. So all of that was the same. But the mental part, the 75% of it, the reason why I locked in on Benn to win was I evaluated everything I just said. I locked in on him because the 75% mental part all favored Benn. There were things that changed. Benn, the first fight, Eubank was fighting really for his reputation. He was a guy that was known to be flamboyant. He was a great promoter like his father. He talked, he did this, he did. He got stopped in some fights. He won most of his fights. There were fights where he came up short. The other guy, Benn, was undefeated. He was untested to a certain degree. But Eubank had more to prove. There were people that said Eubank is a product of his father. He's living off his father's, sleeve, his shirt tail. He had more to prove. He had to prove that he was more than a promoter, more than a talker. Yeah, I know he'd done that to a certain degree, but also he came up short sometimes. And this was the fight not to come up short. That first fight, it was all about Eubank being worthy of everything he said he was worthy of being more than a shadow to his father, being himself, being able to prove himself that there's more to me than just a silver tongue. And he proved it. Oh my God, he proved it. Benn did too. But my God, he took punches. He showed heart. He showed endurance down the stretch. He not only won on the outside, he went and matched Benn on the inside and fought inside with him and got the better down the stretch when he had to. It was magnificent. But it was probably his undoing for the rematch because he did it. Because he did what he had to do. He proved himself. And then there's one last part. And this was the most important part. He was fighting, or he was doing this. I think it's one of the most powerful things in mankind, in human life, human existence, that a son needs the approval of a father. He needs the acceptance, the love of a father. And I think the first fight, he was fighting for that. He was fighting for his father's acceptance, his approval. And they had a split. The father was concerned about the weight clause, about coming down to make the weight. And there was other things going on with their relationship. And at the end of the day, the father made a very public statement. He wasn't coming to the fight. And what happened? He showed up at the fight. How inspiring, how impactful was that in the first fight? We don't know. But I tell you one thing, it sure as hell didn't hurt him. His father showed up in that first fight, and he was there for his son. And his son went out there, and he handed his father that victory and everything that goes with that victory between a father and son. So in other words, Eubank had already accomplished so much more than getting a payday. Yeah, he got a payday. Now he got even a bigger one. But no, he accomplished the most important thing in life. The acceptance of a father. The love of a father. And that was beautiful. And that was great. But that hurt him in the rematch. I felt that in the rematch, from the mental standpoint, it was going to be Ben. All Ben. Ben all night. Because now Ben had something to prove. Now the shoe was on the other foot. Now Ben was the guy who had to show something. Something else. I know he showed a lot the first time, but something else. And he had to defend his father. Because his father never beat Chris Eubank Sr. He had to defend his father's legacy. The pride of his son fighting for his father now. The reverse of the first one, when it was in the favor of Eubank. That was a big difference. To me, that made it a sealed deal that I like Ben. And I think he fought that way. I think he fought that way, that this fight, there was more urgency. It meant more. There was more desperation, whatever you want to call it. It meant more to Ben than it did to Eubank. And I'm not taking nothing away from Eubank, but I believe that that's what I saw. And I was willing to lay my money on it and to tell people, yeah, be responsible. I'm never going to be right all the time. I'm wrong plenty. But be responsible if you want to have fun and bet. Otherwise, don't even bet. Just know that this is what I think while you watch the fight. Maybe it'll make it more entertaining and interesting to have, something to sort of a storyline to follow as you watch the fight. And at the end of the day, Ben got it done. And I'll finish with this, and you touched on it, the fight plans. A lot of credit went to Eubank and Bomac. He's so well known, he's so famous, and he's got Crawford, and he does a great job, and him and his crew, Bomac and his guys, they do a great job. They always have their guys ready. They always have them with the right fight plan. They really do. And they improve their fighters. And that's what a trainer's supposed to do if he's a real trainer. And there's not a lot of real trainers out there. Bomac is right there at the top. But we didn't give enough credit to Ben, his crew, his team. They came in with the right fight plan. Come in with the jab, feint a little bit. His feints were magnificent. He was feinting before he came in that front door just to get the counters out of the way, to get the left hooks or the right hands that Eubank was looking to time him with. The feint would get it out of the way, get him off balance a little bit, get him off stride, off rhythm. And then when you come in a little safer. That feinting, idea of feinting in the game plan was the right idea. It was brilliant. It helped. It worked. And coming in behind the jab and moving your head the way he did, all of it. Credit to Ben and his people that they were prepared. So was Eubank. The difference was what I said from the mental, emotional standpoint. I think that was probably the thing that drove this fight, that drove this car.
Yeah, no, well said. Couldn't agree with any more of what you said. I'll say this, a couple final points that I'll add in here. We talked about it in the preview, in the lead up last week, that I thought he should have went the Ryan Garcia route. and we touched on it already, that he should have missed weight. And credit to Eubank. He was a professional. He made the weight that he was contracted to make. But I thought he should have gave up a couple bucks and not drained himself that way.
I don't, because that's not fair. That's almost like cheating, bud. It's almost like cheating. I get what you're saying. Strategically, management-wise.
Hey, Ben wanted another Rolls Royce. He was happy to accept it. That's part of the game. That's part of the contract. It happened with Garcia and Haney. I get where you're coming from. You never had a fighter in your life miss weight. But on the flip side of that, the one thing that was way different this go around and was glaring to me, the bigger man wasn't the bigger man. And it wasn't just because he was drained. Obviously, part of it. Ben bulked up, and he was a big son of a gun this go around. He was 167 pounds on the rehydration the day of the fight. And I thought he was the bigger man, the stronger man drawing the fight, especially on the inside, even on the clinches. I thought that was glaring difference in this fight. It almost made also the difference in the end. Like you said, we had Ben plus 150 to win. We just missed the knockout of plus 275. He did score 2 knockdowns at the end. There was another 10, 20 seconds. Might have got that one too.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point because I made it early in the fight during the live streaming. I said, wow, what's he on, a weight program? He looks like he must have been picking up weights, his back, his shoulders. Ben, we're talking about, he was bigger, he was stronger. You're right, 100%. And like I said, we said that, I think we said in the first round, you know, as soon as the fight started. So, yeah, he was ready. He was ready in every freaking way. And he wasn't going to be denied. He wasn't going to be denied. The only thing I was worried about with him was he keeps his left hand low. And not only coming in, but when he stepped back, that he was vulnerable to getting hit with right hands. And that was the punch that when he did get hit, you know, that was the punch that at the end of the day that he had to be wary of. Really, even though Eubank throws a nice counter left hook too, and the uppercut too, but it was the right hand that was going to do him in if he got done in. But at the end of the day, they got it done. At the end of the day, here's one last thing. You brought up a nice point when we did the live stream. You said, what does he do? What does he do now? What does he do now? Besides going to an accountant to make sure his money is properly put into the right areas, you know, because he made a lot of money. What does he do now, bud? And you said, does he go back to really what his weight was? Because these fights are not indicative of what really been. These became one-offs. These became opportunities. Opportunities because of the father's history to fight catch weight fights out of his weight to make a lot of money. And they did. But now what does he do? He was a welterweight. What's he do now? I'll tell you what he doesn't do. No one else is going to say this maybe. It's all right. I don't think he goes back to welterweight. Just from what you just said, he bulked up to 167. He was muscle. Muscle is hard to get rid of. You try to chisel away at the muscle, you chisel away at the person. And you deplete that person. You hinder that person. You wind up undoing that person and undermining that person. Maybe that happened to Roy Jones after he beat Ruiz for the heavyweight, one of the heavyweight titles, and then he went back to light heavyweight. You know, he put all that muscle on. He had to take it off. He went back down. I don't think that did him any good. And I don't know if Ben now, I don't know. You get the right nutritionist, you do it the right way. Yeah, okay. But I'm not so sure they're going to be that. He still he's not that big. So, you know, even though he got stronger in his muscles and his back, but he's not the frame, the skeleton, the height. You know, he's not that big. To be fighting those really bigger guys that are a little younger. So I don't know what they do. I don't know if they, but again, I don't know if they go back to 147, which I think would be the inclination to say, okay, go back to the weight that you really are and fight at your weight. And let's see what you do at your weight. I don't know if he can ever go back to that now.
No, those are excellent points, and I agree with everything you just said. It's not going to be easy to go back to it. It's going to take a process. With that being said, it's 1-1 now. Usually you get trilogy fights. I don't want to see the trilogy fight. I do want to see him go to that natural weight you're talking about. I do want to see him in there, maybe versus the Haney Norman winner, somebody in that 147-pound weight class. So we will see. We covered this one thoroughly. Congratulations to the Benn family. We're going to keep it moving. Before we keep it moving, we'll take a quick pause and give a thank you to today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. These guys spent 10 plus years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It has vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and antioxidants. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health. Athletic Greens is giving our listeners 3 travel packs for free and a free welcome kit including vitamin D3 and K2 and AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. So whether you're looking to boost your energy levels, support your immune system, or address gut health, Athletic Greens is the way to go. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/atlas. There he is, staying ready, staying right with his Athletic Greens. Is that the secret formula to going 8 out of 9 on winning picks? I just got to keep drinking Athletic Greens? All right, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to go over to the UFC 322. We're going to start off with the main event there at Madison Square Garden. We were there live. Teddy was covering it. We touched on it in the intro. His last fight under ESPN, working for the UFC fight. And that was the welterweight championship. Jack Della Maddalena putting his belt on the line versus Islam Makhachev. And Makhachev becomes a 2-weight class champion now with the move up to welterweight. I'll start off by saying this, bud. I'm not in there versus Makhachev, and I don't ever want to be. But I was disappointed with the game plan and the performance by Jack. I wanted more. I wanted to see more from this striking. I wanted to see what he did, and we're going to touch on in a minute, that Valentina Shevchenko did. That she controlled distance, that she took steps back, tried to set some traps. He was coming forward. He was too close in range, and it just felt inevitable that Islam was going to get his hands on him, get him to the ground, and do what Islam does when he has you on the ground. Just maul you, right? And just be relentless with his grappling and his positioning. And he took the air out of the ball. He'd get him down on the ground, 3 minutes in the round was over. Wasn't a lot of action. Definitely wanted more there from the main event in that way. But Islam did what he had to do. He's a 2-division champion. Just want to hear your thoughts. What'd you think of this one? And before you give the thoughts, another winner at the ropes with the over 3.5 rounds, and you said it would go by decision. We're always fully transparent. We gave a little back. We took a shot on the underdog on Jack at almost plus 300, but still a win at the end of the day. Want to hear your thoughts on this one, bud?
Yeah. Our big play, our significant play, our real play was just the over, period. I mean, the other one was a throwaway. But I'm with you. You didn't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that Jack Della Maddalena, if he was going to win, it was going to be with his striking prowess, not on the floor, not on the mat. He could survive on the mat because, as I said going in, the reason why I picked the over, he has good takedown, defense and survival ability, and he's tough mentally. He has that ability to survive on the mat. But if he was going to win, it was going to be with the striking. You didn't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that. First, let me give credit where credit's due. Makhachev has improved in his striking. He's not way in the back seat to anybody. Even if somebody is a better striker, let's just say that you think someone's a better striker and he's the better guy on the floor, and Makhachev is just a monster on the floor, and he's not you don't think of him as a striker. No, he strikes pretty damn good. He doesn't let you dominate him as a striker. That's a good striker. That alone. He knows how to control range. He uses his jab. You know, he's a solid freaking striker. But yeah, he's a boogeyman, a monster on the floor. And he's moved up in weight. So I don't know if his strength, dominance was as significant as it usually is, but his ability, his technique, his quickness, his determination, his belief in himself, his full confidence on that mat was still apparent. You know, that's his territory. That's his territory. That is his turf. And he doesn't believe anyone could beat him in that turf. And so far, you know, he's right. I'm with you. With Jack, if you're gonna strike, if you're gonna give yourself a chance to win, it's gonna be in the striking category area. But if you're gonna strike, we're all looking at the hands. We're all looking at the punches. I thought because his defense is good, he puts punches together well, he can give angles, he can box, you know, he can be aggressive, but he can also box, he can set traps. I've seen Jack show that. And here's the trick. This is really what it's about. It's not about his hands. It's about his feet. If he's not using his legs to give angles, to change range, to stay away from Makhachev, to make it hard for Makhachev to shoot and to take him down. If he's not doing that, and he wasn't doing that, he was too aggressive, he was right in front, he was too available to Makhachev. If you're going to be the better striker, you got to be able to strike. Guess what? Newsflash. You can't strike if you're on your freaking backside on the floor. You can't strike. Maybe in your dreams you can, but in reality, you cannot strike. So that means you have to stay on your feet. That means you have to do what Teddy Atlas just said. You have to, before you even worry about the hands moving, you got to make sure that your legs are moving, that you're out of range, that you're not allowing an expert on takedowns to be in range to take you down that easily. You got to be out of range. You got to have part of your game plan. I didn't think his game plan was great. You have to have part of your game plan to be where you're going to make Makhachev take chances to take you down. That you're going to make it, you're not going to cooperate. You're going to make it hard for him to take you down. You're going to make him try to reach a little bit where you can catch him with an uppercut or maybe a knee or something. Or at least you can avoid the takedown. You can see it coming. He didn't do that. He didn't give himself a chance to strike. At the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. He really didn't give himself a chance to use his best weapons, his best talent, his offense with his hands. Because you can't do that if the guy's got you freaking wrapped up on the floor. So I think one last thing, I'm going to finish on this. I think that a little bit more deep I'm going to go of a reason why he didn't look like his body language. Jack's body language didn't, to me, it wasn't the same as I've seen it in the past. And this is what I mean. I think when you're fighting a guy that's this much of a legend already, this much of a boogeyman, if you will, this much of a proven powerhouse on the mat, that he's recognized as that guy, a guy that you really have, obviously you gotta be ready for. That you have to have a lot of concern about. When you're facing that guy that can take you down and you might never get up again, I think that your concentration, your whole thinking process and emotional system is so geared on not being taken down. I'll use a word that most people say you shouldn't use it with a guy that's this tough and that's in the fight business. But I'm going to use it anyway. It doesn't make him less. It makes him human. But if you're worried, if there's a concern, and of course there is, just because he's tough don't mean he's not concerned. If you're concerned, if you let that get to the point where that becomes too powerful, too consuming, you will get caught up in worrying so much about being taken down that you will lose sight of the things you normally would do. Your fluidity, your rhythm, your natural responses and reflexes of how you operate in that cage will be frozen. Kind of like a deer is frozen by headlights. It'll be frozen that you'll be so stagnated by the thought, I can't get taken down. I can't get taken down. That the next thing you know, you're not doing the things to make sure you're not taken down. You're so involved in worrying and thinking about not getting a guy shoot on you and take you down that you lose track of the things you've done before and you had to do to be you. You stop being you. You actually conform to what he needs because you're so worried about what he does well. I saw that. I saw a guy that was so consumed with not getting taken down, with being in there with the master of takedowns, the master of grappling, that he froze up and allowed himself to be available and not do the things that he would have had to do to have a chance.
No, absolutely. Those are some great points. That was a great, thorough breakdown. And I'll just piggybacking off of that, but I mean, Islam was the better striker, and it was the availability that Jack made himself so easy, as you touched on and explained so perfectly. I just thought he was just so tentative, and I guess because of the concern of getting taken down and Islam's shooting. But nothing was definitive. Everything was almost half speed. He wouldn't commit. Like, you could even, Islam early on caught one of the leg kicks. The punches didn't have that sharpness to it. But in the end of the day, the final thing that I'd say, Bud, is that my observation watching it live and sitting there with you is how smart Islam Makhachev is. Maybe I'm wrong here, but to me it felt like he purposely allowed Jack to get up at the end of every single round with 10 seconds left. He had him down for 3 minutes. There was no accident, in my opinion. Just to drain him a little bit more to allow him to try to get up and take that out of him. And I was just thinking, like, Jack, what are you getting up for? You didn't get up for 3 minutes. Just stay down for the last 10 seconds. You heard the clapper, right? Save some of that energy. But that was just a thought I had watching it.
That's a brilliant point. I think there's truth to that. That is a great point. That shows you how in control. And this goes for all the great ones. All the great ones have that asset. How in control Makhachev and awareness and control in his environment of everything, even that. And you know what you just reminded me of? The old time fighters. I'm going back when they had 200 fights, when they fought everywhere around the country, where there was enough clubs to get the kind of experience you can't get nowadays. Where nowadays guys are fighting for a title 15, 20 fights. Back in the days where I'm talking about, they weren't even fighting a main event at the Garden until they had 40 fights, 50 fights, 60 fights. So they had a time where they could get so much experience. And that experience showed. And what you just made me think about, and you're never going to see it today. Well, maybe you see it with some guys, but very rare. Where the old-time fighters, I used to watch the films with Custom Model, and we'd be watching all the old-time fighters. Forget about it. Henry Armstrong, just all these great fighters. And Sugar Ray Robinson. And when they were in a fight that always was going to go the distance because they were fighting top guys that usually, no matter what, you were going to go rounds. And they always, when the bell rang, the top guys, the special guys like a Makhachev, he always wound up when the bell rang in his corner. And I remember after watching about 10 of these fights, I was 18 years old. I watched about 10 of these fights in a row, bud. And I turned to Cuss. Cuss, what is it? I said, these guys, the ones we're looking at, the greats, is it an accident? And he said, what? I said, every time as the bell rings, they're in their own corner. All they have to do is sit down. They don't have to walk across the freaking ring. And he said, of course it's not an accident. It's genius. That's why they are who they are. Of course, there's no accidents in there. And I never forgot that. And you just reminded me, you know, obviously in a different sport, but a combat sport, that the greats, they are so aware of all elements that they get an edge anywhere they could. Another one, I remember the old time fight, and I caught a lot of fights outdoors in the sun in hot areas with Friday night fights, a lot of them. Where I remember one time the cameraman put the camera on the thermometer, it was 112 degrees. And I'm out there with a freaking suit on. I said, how stupid am I? I got a freaking suit on. I took the suit off. And we're watching a fight. I'm commentating on the fight, and it took me back to the old time fights where when they fought outdoors, which they did a lot, the experienced fighter would always position himself where the opponent's eyes would be facing the sun, where he would be squinting. It gave them an edge. Maybe enough edge to score a knockout, but it definitely gave him an edge. So there it is.
No, those are great stories. I'm so glad you shared those because the great ones always get the edge, and they are geniuses, and it's not by accident. And I didn't think that was by accident last night. If we ever got a chance to talk to Islam, I would ask him that. But Islam, unbelievable, hasn't lost since 2015. And I don't know if anybody's out there at 170 pounds, but time will tell. We'll find out. We're going to keep it moving.
There's some good ones in that weight, though. There's some good ones there, bud.
There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of killers in the UFC. But Islam Makhachev is special. We'll see. But congratulations again to him, to Khabib, to their whole team. And we're going to move on to the co-main event. We're going over to the Women Flyweight Championship. Valentina Shevchenko versus Weili Zhang. And a lot of people are saying, hey, the winner of this fight could potentially be considered maybe the greatest woman MMA fighter of all time. Amanda Nunes wouldn't like hearing that. And she's out there and she has a win over Valentina. But was very excited for this one. But you asked me, bud, at the fight last night, what did I think? And my concern was with this fight that it would turn into what it did, into a stinker. That Valentina was too big for her. That Valentina was going to fight as she always does. So disciplined, so patient, and the grappling. That she'd get her on the ground, being the bigger girl, and she wouldn't take chances, and she would win the fight. And that's exactly what happened. She dominated throughout. Just like the fight we just spoke about, very similar. Like Jack couldn't get up off the ground. Well, Zhang couldn't either. She couldn't move. She was too small. Credit to Zhang. She went for it from 115-pound two-time champion, moved up, took the challenge at 125, but it was too much for her. And credit to Valentina. Just want to hear your thoughts, your take on this one.
Valentina, I mean, the thing that what you just said it, that stood out immediately. I mean, you couldn't miss it. I mean, she was physically so much bigger. She was just so much bigger. So much bigger. I mean, she didn't win just because she's big and strong. She won because she's smart. She's fast. She's technically so solid. She knows, She controls her geography that's best for her. She knows what her thing is. She got full confidence in it. Much like Makhachev. In some ways, she's the woman version of Makhachev. And she fought the same kind of fight. She's the ice lady in some ways. Because, I saw that in her approach, her temperament. She controlled range really well, but she was icy deliberate, patient. I mean, man, you couldn't get a twitch out of her. She waited for Zhang to make a mistake, to make the first move. And as soon as Zhang made a move, being a little smaller, she had to show it. She had to give up a little. There was a disadvantage to Zhang trying to get in because Valentina controlled range so well where Zhang had to make a move to come forward. Valentina was able to counter her. And that was her strategy. That's her temperament. That, she's very, very steady, patient, icy, the ice in her veins. She allowed Zhang to make a little move. She countered right away. And then Zhang made a move, got too close. She took her down. And once she took her down, she kept it down. And like you said, takes the air out of the arena, takes the air out of the game. Right there. Doesn't do a lot of damage. Either did Makhachev. He didn't do a lot of damage when he had Madalena on the floor. And either did Valentina. But they control the fight. You can't do anything. I said in the post-fight breakdown that I did with the UFC ESPN, I said she's like that movie, The Fog. The fog comes in, and when the fog comes in, it takes over everything. You can't see nothing, and the fog just comes in, and it debilitates everyone. It absorbs and consumes everybody. She was like the fog, Valentina. She floated in, and that was it. She just consumed Zhang. Zhang couldn't move, couldn't do anything. So, but at the beginning of it, what it all starts with is her temperament, her icy, deliberate, very, very controlled way where she's going to let you make a mistake. She is not making mistakes. She's not making mistakes. And if you're looking for her to help you, she ain't helping you. You got to do it yourself. Some people help you. They walk into punches, they walk into takedowns. She is not helping you. So at the end of the day, the two of them are two of the greatest, but she just solidified her position once again as one of the GOATs with the females in UFC.
No, absolutely. The two-time and current flyweight champion. And for Zhang, two-time strawweight champion, I think she has to go back down to 115 pounds. Like everything you just said with the size or lack of, she couldn't move. But that was a thorough breakdown. We're going to keep it moving, bud. Those two took the air out of the building. Those two were the decisions. Those two were boring, right? They were grappling. They were wrestling. There wasn't a lot of action, as we just said. But there was a lot of action before that. And whether it was Bo Nickel, St. Denis, Morales, there was some explosive knockouts. But I want to touch on one of them. And that came from the fight between the former world champion Leon Edwards and Carlos Prates. Now in the first round, Edwards got him to the ground. Edwards was in control. Not a lot of damage, but won the round. But in the second round, Prates, always fun to watch and a dangerous striker, He landed the bomb. He landed a big one, and that was it. Lights out for Leon Edwards. Just want to hear your thoughts on what you saw to set up that knockout.
Yeah. It was interesting. We might have seen, if not the end of Edwards, definitely the end of him being able to compete at that level or win at that level. He did his body language. Even when he got the takedown, very deliberate, very calm, very he workmanlike, no doubt about it. But that fire, there's no fire there. I'm not saying Edwards was ever that fiery. He wasn't that guy. But this time, even a little more subdued. Not just, again, the body language, the feeling that you got, just, he doesn't have the juice that even though he's always a deliberate guy, there was more juice. And you didn't feel that. You didn't see that. I don't know. But give credit to Prates. This is a guy who fights anybody at any time. With the boxing guys, we used to say certain guys, they got their gloves waiting by the door. They got a pair of gloves waiting by the door. Have gloves, will travel. And you give them a call, they're there. That's Prates. He's there. And he's always dangerous. Because he's experienced, he knows what the fig he's doing. He's been in there with top guys. He's confident. He's a tough guy, all that. But he's got that TNT in his fist. He's explosive. He's fun to watch. He's exciting. He's electric. And he's a southpaw. They were both southpaws. And he scored the knockout with the southpaw power punch. The left hand, the backhand, it would be the right hand for orthodox. It's the backhand where you could turn into it. You could get your back into it, pivot on your foot, get your whole body into that punch. And man, he did. It was explosive, but there's a reason why that I don't think anyone noticed this, why he scored such a definitive knockout. When you hit a guy with a punch they don't see, it's lights out because they don't have time to prepare to take the punch, to buckle down, to know it's coming and prepare themselves, to handle it. You got to see the punch. He never saw it. And Edwards getting caught with that punch, part of it was he was a co-conspirator in his own demise. And I'm going to ask Bennett to get a clip if he can. I don't know if he's allowed to, but if he does a good job, Bennett, with this stuff. Just like Richie does with the filming here. If we got good guys with us, we have a good team. If you watch it, take a look. First of all, Edwards is on a straight line. He's not moving his head. He's not getting offline. He's going straight back. He's right there where the path to the punch is going to come. That's number one. But really, if you watch, you'll see that Edwards' hand is actually in a position when the left hand comes, it's his lead right hand as a southpaw. Edwards has that hand up here. But instead of here, he's got it over in front of his eyes. And he blocked his own vision. And Prates' credit, he took advantage of that. He closed real quick. He's got quick feet too. He closed real quick and he got the punch off real explosive, real fast. You want to deliver that way if you're going to land it. And if you're going to land it in a consequential way. But just look at it. Again, Edwards' lead hand is it's like right in front of his eye. And he can't see. And sure enough, the left hand, the straight left hand, comes right in there in a blind alley. A blind alley. He never saw the punch. And that's why it was lights out. So I don't know if Prates recognized that and closed the gap that fast while he was seeing that Edwards was out of position, that Edwards was at a disadvantage where he couldn't, properly pick up the punch. But that's what happened. Anyway, explosive knockout.
Yeah, explosive knockout. It was a great point. And to your point, I thought Jack was doing that Magdalena a little bit. Didn't get caught with a big shot or knocked out the way Leon did. But weird with his striking, covering his eyes, covering his face. But you're right. Leon blinded himself. He did not see that punch coming.
No, he never did. And I always try to say to the audience, if I can help a little bit, in certain areas, educate, whatever you want to call it. But I always try to point out, it's not just the power of the punch, it's the delivery system. And all the great ones that score a lot of knockouts, yeah, they got power. That's pretty obvious, right? But they have a delivery system. They have a means to get it to the target clean. And a lot of times where you don't see it. And that happened during the course of last night too. Some of those knockouts, whether it was the kick by Bo Nickel, whether it was the left hook behind the ear, that was who landed that one, Bud?
St. Dennis.
Yeah, but Dennis. Wow, the poor. Oh my goodness, the poor guy.
Dariush, he didn't know what hit him.
He didn't know what hit him. He didn't know it was over. He was actually going up to his corner and asking what's going on. Like, why are we not fighting? Like, what happened?
Yeah, he did say what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was like he didn't know because he never saw it. It was behind the ear. It was a well-placed punch. But there was an uppercut before that probably took his eye, distracted him just a little bit. And then that uppercut didn't do damage, but it did. In the way that it distracted his eyes where they were down instead of straight ahead. And then the left hook, he doesn't know he's not ready for it. He's not seeing it. And like I say, you got to see the punches. Sometimes the simple thing I say to a fighter before he leaves the corner, people are going to laugh because it's strategy. I'll tell you, you're giving them real good technique. You're telling them, give a little angle 2 inches to the left, 3 inches to the right, do this, do that. Sometimes it's simply motivation and a little technique, but always I'll say to them, see everything. Have your eyes open. Make sure you're seeing everything. Make sure you're seeing the punches. That's so important. So important.
Yeah. Our thoughts are with Leon Edwards. We hope he's okay. He's recovering today. Big fan of Leon, the man, in and out of the ring. A friend of Teddy's, a friend of the show, and a former world champion. That was a scary moment. He should not have eaten that last punch. The referee should have got in there before that. So we hope he's okay.
That's a good point, Bud. You're right. It's a dangerous sport, just like my sport, boxing is. But the referees have a very big responsibility to be close enough to be in position to prevent a punch that is preventable. And you're so right. You're so right on that. I'm so glad you called that out. You're right. And the refs are good with UFC. I'm not knocking them, but should have been in a little better position for that one. And Edwards is a great human being, and he was a champion. He beat the great Usman. You got to remember, Usman was when he beat Usman, he was the boogeyman. He was. He really was, and he beat him. Edwards. We hope he's good. We hope he's all right. He's a great person and champion.
Absolutely. And congratulations to Carlos Prates. Always fun to watch anytime he's fighting. Sign me up. This is Ricardo Mayorga of the UFC, and I loved watching Ricardo Mayorga fight. So with that being said, this was a thorough breakdown of these fights and recaps from the boxing and the UFC world. Before we sign off here, we do want to give some previews. There's a huge card next week. It's in Saudi Arabia. That's on November 22nd, next Saturday. We're going to live stream that again. This time it's not going to be on this YouTube channel. It's not going to be on The Fight. If you guys want to watch Teddy's live stream commentary and hear him and be with us, come over to The Ropes. We're going to put up the website again, but that's The Ropes. And that's next week. We're going to do 2 fights, and we're going to break them down quickly now and get Teddy's preview and prediction. The first one, the main event I'm going to start with here, bud, that's David Benavidez. He's putting the WBC light heavyweight title on the line. This is his third bout now at light heavyweight, and he's fighting Anthony Yarde, or Anthony Yarde. Yarde is 34 years of age now. He's been in some tough fights where he's fell short at that next level, whether it was Sergey Kovalev years back or Arthur Beterbiev. He's getting another crack at it, another opportunity. Just want to hear your thoughts. What should we expect for this one?
You're going to expect what you get from the monster, the Mexican monster Benavidez. You're going to get offense. Nothing boring. You're going to get pressure. You're going to get aggression. You're going to get body work. And you're going to get punches and bunches. You're going to get explosions in moments, like a rainstorm, a rainstorm that comes and then all of a sudden the clouds go away and the weather clears up. And then it comes again and the weather clears up. Benavidez hits you with splurges of rain bursts of punches in spots. And you better be ready for those spots. And it will be to the body, it will be the uppercuts, and it will be with pressure. But having said that Benavidez, and I love him, I love his father. Having said, I love the way they represent themselves, carry themselves, conduct themselves. Having said all that, with rain comes mud. Yeah, I said it, right? With rain comes mud. And the potential mud with Benavidez is when he's raining all those punches at you, sometimes he's vulnerable. Where when he's throwing them, if you punch with him, you can catch him. There are going to be spots, especially early, for the veteran and the good puncher, the strong physical puncher of Yarde. There's going to be opportunities to catch and hurt Benavidez. There are. Benavidez has a good chin, great heart. But there will be opportunities to do that. I think for the veteran Yarde, who's getting in the twilight of his career, I think those opportunities will have to come early. And they have to look for them early, not late. Because late, I think Benavidez, if he gets his way with the body work, the pressure, the volume, the burst, if he gets his way, he'll wear down Yarde. So at the end of the day, I like Benavidez to win. He's a prohibitive favorite, so you're not laying all that wood. The under-over is 9.5. 9.5 rounds. I'm probably going to go towards the under because I just think that eventually Benavidez, unless he gets caught, and he could get caught, and he could get dropped, that could happen. But at the end of the day, I think youth will be served, and Benavidez will have a chance to get rid of Yarde before the night's over. You could just take him by knockout, then you got to lay more. So I'm trying to make it the best situation for you out there, not having to lay to get the best bang for your buck. Maybe the under. Maybe the under is your best bet for that. That's what I did say, right, Bud, in my picks, the under. I want to make sure I'm remembering it right, that we put out there for the fans.
Yeah.
So,
under 9.5 rounds, minus 115, and Benavidez by KO, minus 150.
Yeah, I mean, I like either one. You want to lay 150? Go ahead. Yarde, like I said, there is danger. There will be danger in the Yarde. There will be danger in the Yarde. But I'm going to say he gets out of the Yarde, Benavidez, and does what he got to do. So that's that.
Yeah, we're going to give you guys one more preview here in a second from Teddy with his prediction and preview and breakdown for the Devin Haney, Brian Norman fight. But it's a loaded card. There's more fights on that card. And if you want those picks and you want Teddy's previews and predictions, come over to the ropes. We're going to put up the link there again so everybody could see it. But that's for Bam Rodriguez as well as Abdullah Mason versus Noakes. So we don't have the time. We're not going to be able to cover it all here. But if you want some more winning, you want some more picks, again, come check it out on the ropes. With that being said, bud, here's the last one we're going to give a preview and a prediction for from you. And that is going to be a welterweight championship fight between the welterweight champion at 147 pounds, Brian Norman, only 24 years old. I think the youngest world champion in boxing right now, defending his belt and putting it on the line versus Devin Haney. Haney, the former world champion, moving up, making his debut at 147 pounds. Just want to get right into it, bud. I want to get your thoughts, breakdown. What should we expect for this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, right? There's a reason why Norman... There's a reason why Norman is the favorite. A couple reasons. One, his talent. He's got enormous talent. He's got power. He's explosive. But his people have done a good job with him. He knows how to fight. He's technically solid. He's not just talented. He's talented, but mechanics are really good. He's a good fighter. And Haney could be damaged goods. I get right to it. He could be, because after that beating that he took, and he showed a lot of heart, God bless him, but to survive in the Ryan Garcia fight, he showed a lot of heart, but he took a lot. And we don't know what it took out of him, mentally and physically. He came back and had one fight back, and he won. And he didn't impress people. He was very defensive. You know, he moved. He looked good that way. Very limited offense. But he was, maybe to people, looked like he was a little gun shy. He wasn't pulling the trigger. He did enough to win easily against an opponent that was slower, that was one-dimensional, that was coming at him one punch at a time, and Haney was able to outbox. But what people don't understand, I don't think enough, is that fight for Haney wasn't about looking good or even looking like the old Haney. It was about finding himself, letting himself know he was still okay. After that loss and the punishment he took, it turned out to be a no contest because Garcia turned up dirty with the drug test afterwards. So it was a no contest, so it's not a loss on his record. But man, the punishment is real. The psychological part and damage was real. And after that, he needed to find out, like I just said, am I okay? So that last fight was not about looking good. It was about finding out he was okay. Finding out that he could be Haney again. And I think he accomplished that. He got through that. You can't judge him off that fight. A lot of people, could he be damaged goods? Yeah. But I'm going to gamble on the side that he's not. I'm going to gamble on the side that him and his father have been pretty good at picking who they want to fight. Pretty good. They made a mistake with Garcia. But there was other circumstances involved in that. They thought that Garcia was out of his mind, that with all the stuff on the social media, they were going to just walk through, pick up a paycheck, go through the motions, knock him out, go home, get a nice paycheck. And it didn't turn out to be that way. So I don't think they were prepared for the fight that it turned out to be. And then it turned out to be that they took the punishment they did. I think that if I'm right, the last fight did what it was supposed to do. It got Haney right mentally again. I think he's okay physically. I think it got him right mentally again. And I think his father knew this. He knew this. If I'm right, he's the more experienced guy. He's the guy. He's the veteran. I think Norman is the future. I think Norman's gonna. I think he's gonna be a really special fighter. But on this one fight, where I gotta do what's difficult, handicap, pick a fight for you guys. I'm gonna go with Haney. I'm gonna say that he's back mentally, and he's okay physically, and that his style, he's going to go back to what he always was, a counterpuncher, a guy that has good legs, a guy who has decent hand speed, a guy who is a sharpshooter. He doesn't waste much. A guy who can be very, very pinpoint with his punches and with his counters, and he can get out of dodge before you can come back. A guy who's defensively solid. Yeah, I know there's been questions about his chin. I understand all that. But there's no questions about his heart. And no questions about his talent when it's there. And I think it's going to be there. I think the styles might suit him. I think Norman, still the less experienced guy, but very, very explosive, very talented. I think he's going to go after Haney. I think it's going to give Haney a chance, style-wise, to be at his best, to be the old Haney. Not the Haney that went in there with Garcia, that never should have went in that way, being a seek and destroy guy. That's not him. It's going to be the Haney that counterpunches, the Haney that makes you reach, the Haney that, gets you to do what he wants you to do, the Haney that's elusive, the Haney that can give you angles. If it's that Haney, he wins a decision over Norman. Now listen, there's danger all night in this fight. There's danger for Norman to get to Haney. And I'll tell you this, if Norman hurts him the way Garcia did, the night's probably going to be over. Because he's a better finisher than Garcia. He's a good finisher. So there it is. I know he's the underdog, bud. I'm going to take Haney. I don't know if there's an overplay there, to go with the over. Because I think that, for Haney to be successful, it's got to go the rounds. But maybe if you just took over, maybe Norman gets to him late. You protect yourself that way. But Haney's the play for me.
I like it. I love the breakdown. I cannot wait for this fight. I forget sometimes that Haney's still only 26 years old. We've been talking about him for so long now, and he's been in so many big fights, whether it's Lomachenko or Garcia and so forth. And Norman only 24 years old, so both in their primes. This should be a good one. I can't wait for it. Again, we're going to live stream it, Teddy's Fight Companion. That's going to be at the ropes, and we're also going to have more picks besides the two we just previewed over there. So thank you, bud. These were some great previews, some great recaps. Before we sign off, very, very quickly, final thing I just want to throw at you. One of your favorite fighters, the WBO featherweight champion, Rafa Espinoza, he fought in Mexico last night, and he defended his belt. He won. He defeated Arnold Khegai. Khegai has never been stopped before this, and Kegai's been in against some good fighters. This fight was a top-rank instant classics. That's what it was on. It's hard to find that app. A lot of people might not even know or got to see them. We were at the fights. We did not have the opportunity, full transparency, to watch the full fight. But we were able to see some clips and get you a feel. And I just want to give you a chance to just give a couple thoughts of what you saw and what you thought of Rafa Espinoza.
Yeah. First of all, full disclosure, he's one of my favorite fighters and favorite people. He's a great guy. He's a champion in every way, in and out of the ring, at home with his family, and doing his business the way you're supposed to do it, in the gym, concentrating on what he should concentrate, being the champion and staying the champion. I love him. I love his approach. I love his style. He throws a lot of punches. He grinds you down. He doesn't stop. I love the way he won the title. He got dropped against a really good fighter, gold medalist from Cuba. He got dropped, fifth round, the early part of the fight. He got off
versus
the
Ramirez.
floor. Yeah, against Ramirez. He got off the floor, he came back, he behaved like a champion, and he almost stopped Ramirez. You know, at the end of that fight, he took the title. Then in the rematch, he did stop Ramirez. He showed he even got better. He's a great offensive fighter. He's a great guy to watch. He's a great guy to cheer for. He's nothing but fun and excitement, but he's got to improve on his defense. He's a tall guy. He doesn't always use that asset. I want him to learn to use that, where you can fight tall. Kind of like, Fundora. Fundora, I said it from the beginning. I love Fundora. Throws a lot of punches when he was first coming up. Good power, good heart, good chin. Really fun to watch. But he always gave up his height. And he always gave you opportunities, if you were the smaller, shorter man, to get into a geography where you could take advantage of him being tall, standing straight up, where you could catch him. And I always said Fundora's going to pay a price for that, and he did. He eventually got knocked out. He came back, and he got the title against Zhu, and then, since then he's made a defense, one or two defenses, and he comes from a great family. His sister is one of the best female fighters out there. She's unbelievable. She's also aggressive. But at the end of the day, I think Rafael has to improve in that area and take advantage of his assets, his God-given assets of length and height, where he'll learn to make it easier sometimes, not just to engage everyone, but to fight on the outside and make it hard for the opponents to have a chance. I think he's got to learn that. He's got to improve in those areas and not get caught. Right now, his heart, his chin, he will not allow himself to be beat, even if he does get hit. But, you want to improve in those areas if you want to have longevity. But he is definitely a guy I root for and a guy that I always want to watch fight.
Absolutely. No question about that. Love the comp and the comparison there to Fundora. There's so many similarities. And I feel like with both of these guys, that when they do try to use their advantageous height and length and fight on the outside and control distance, once they get hit, they're just fighters and they respond like fighters. And all else goes out the window and back to just fighting. But always fun to watch. Love this kid inside and outside the ring from what I've seen. He reminds me in so many ways, but of Merab in the UFC. And not only just as a person and the approach and the demeanor and the champion, but I'm more so saying from the gas tank. This guy, like Merab, he does not stop. He throws a zillion punches. For all the fight fans out there, if you're not familiar with him, look him up. You should watch him because he is a fun, really good fighter to watch.
Yeah, his gas tank never goes near E. It's always full. It's always on full, My daughter, when she comes over here, the lawyer, your sister, when she comes over here and she needs to borrow a car, she always takes my car instead of her mother's, because her mother's is always on E, and she knows her dad's is always full, always a full tank, and that is Rafael. He is always a full tank of gas. He just, like you said, his engine is nonstop.
Absolutely. We'll see if some of the other champions at 126 will start dancing with him and we could get a potential unification bout coming up here in the future. But Nicole is smart, and the other thing that is full is a lot of our members at the ropes pockets. So thank you again, bud. Great week, great recaps. Any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I just want to thank you for creating that platform and working so hard to build it. And I hope it continues to grow, because if it don't, we're not gonna do it. So I hope it continues to grow, because I think it's a good platform. I think it's not just because it's mine and yours, but I really do. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. We're putting a product out there. We're showing them that, it's a worthy product. And plus there's so many other things that gives them access to. Q&As with me, sending me film to break down, doing virtual training, doing private training in person. Just so many dimensions to it that I believe in it. I believe in, you talked me into it to allow you to do it. I was like a little hesitant because I'm a caveman. I'm a freaking old caveman. But I'm glad that we did it. And it's fun watching it grow with you. And it's fun. It's a good feeling to hear the members, when they thank us. I know it's not always going to be the sun. Sometimes you're going to have a few clouds. But whether they're thanking us for not only giving a pick, a winner, but just having access where they can ask a question, whether it's a question about a specific fight or about their fight or their fight in life, and I just feel I feel privileged that we can have that platform and we can communicate with people that way. So thanks for doing that, bud.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for all viewing with us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys again next week.